Hello, this is Jamie White with Global Diversity News. As always, like, subscribe, check us out on Twitter at GDN Network, and also take a look at our website, globaldiversitynews.com. Got another podcast coming to you. This time, we're going to be discussing architecture and how a mix between architecture design and hip hop may be the way to increase diversity. Now, on this podcast, I have with me Ray Hayes, who I did a couple podcasts with last week, and Tiara Varner, right? That's your last name?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Varner.
Hello.
Yep. Ray, you can say hi as well.
What's going on, everybody?
So appreciate that, Ray. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. For this one, we're actually taking the article from Fast Co-Design. There'll be a link in the description below. Where it covers Michael Ford, who's a Highland Park native. I'm actually originally from Detroit, so shout out to Highland Park. But again, Michael Ford, architecture design, who is looking for ways to increase diversity within architecture. Now, if you're unaware, according to the article, only 4% of registered architects identify as Black or African American. Now, this percentage has increased over the last couple of years. But, obviously there's plenty of, as the article says, headway to be made. Now, according to Ford, he, after going through a couple of years or years of study through the architecture school in Detroit, he eventually wrote a thesis where he highlights the invention of the projects. And it was essentially invented by a man in Paris named Le Corbusier. I hope that's the right way to pronounce that. If not, hey, we're moving forward with that. That's how we're pronouncing it for right now. But basically, he came up with this whole vertical, type of cities, in which there's a high-rise building set among greenery. Now, the French actually denounced the plan. They didn't like it. They said high-rise cities in the middle of a city is just a bad idea. But it was actually taken on by New York City's master builder, Robert Moses. And that Tower in the Park model actually became public housing as a place to relocate people displaced in neighborhoods. What is now known as we know, the projects. Now, there's a lot of negatives that have come with the projects, but there's also a couple of positives, and one of them being hip hop, right? That's essentially where it originated, and then was able to be pushed out, talking about individuals, issues with that whole architecture design, if you will, and society as a whole. So what Michael Ford is trying to do is take that whole hip hop origination and use that as he builds the Universal Hip Hop Museum. So he wants to make it very interactive, very creative. With hip hop, it's all about expressing yourself, and he wants to definitely include that with his architecture design with the Universal Hip Hop Museum located in New York. Now, what we want to talk about is this idea of including hip hop in architecture a good way to increase diversity for the future? Now, I have some thoughts on this, but I'm going to start off and hand it to Ray so he can tell us his thoughts on it, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. From the article, from Michael Ford's article, he states that it's the museum's mission to activate a space, take something new, and turn it into something new. Take something old and turn it into something new. That whole concept could be beneficial to the field of diversity, because you have the field of, let's say, for instance, a Fortune 500 business, correct?
Right.
And the old concept is the main mission of the company. We have to have this amount of customers, but you have to be willing to change. Similar to what his mission is to the museum, you have to activate a space and take something old in order to build upon it and change the concept of the museum or the concept of a company and make it new. Does that make sense to you, Jamie?
Yeah,
Was it?
that makes sense. Basically, we kind of said this in the last podcast, reverse engineering hip hop, if you will, and reinventing something old and making it new again with the use of hip hop.
And main point, architect is all about creativity. It's all about creativity. Hip hop
Yeah.
itself is all about creativity. So if you tie these two together, you can build upon something in order to bring about a different audience to your base. So this museum does have its benefits. However, it could have setbacks as well, because I don't see how you can just solely rely on this museum to bring about diversity in the field of architecture.
Right.
You have to still build upon the ideas at the museum, where you're giving these children or preteens or young adults an opportunity to gain the skills and also introduce to them the concept of what it takes to be an architect. We can't just fully rely on a museum to change diversity.
Well, I don't think he wants to fully rely on the museum. I think he wants to take the principles that he learned and infuse them with hip hop in order to make it appealing for the next generation. But Tiara, I just kind of want you to pull from your engineering experience and tell us kind of what you feel would increase diversity in engineering and how that might apply to like architecture design.
Well,
It's a short question, right? It's a short answer. It's a short answer, right?
you want a short answer?
Well, no, I was being funny. Like, how do you change
Then no.
culture?
The answer is no. No, I'm just kidding. So I was thinking more about what I know about architecture and how that could possibly translate with hip hop, because I was having some trouble making the connection. And
Yes, that's honest.
what I came up with was, of course, patterns. Both architecture and hip hop, both creative, and they both have a lot of patterns. And maybe there are some skills that kids who are really good at recognizing beats and making beats and that type of thing that translate to being a good architect. You're good with patterns and building and structuring, complex
Thoughts.
things. Yeah, thoughts and things. And maybe that does have a direct correlation. I'm not sure, but that's the best that I
That's a
could
good
come up
point.
with.
Like, no. I kind of want to touch on that real quick, Tiara.
Yeah,
That's actually
that's
a good point. When, for example, an artist wants to create a song and he has all these complex thoughts, how does he get that complex thought into a 2 minute and 50-second song? So he has to figure out how to break that down, how to make it rhyme, how to make it make sense in one song to a beat. And that's exactly how architecture is. You have a location and you have a finite set of tools that you can use. And it's how do I get this complex thought that I want this building to look like, for example, into this space using these tools with this type of access. So it would be very similar. Yeah. Good job,
Yeah,
Tiara.
and I don't think people recognize that. I never knew that until this article. So, maybe coming out and saying, hey, if you like this, this, and this, and these are your skills, you can write and, you recognize songs and you have these in your head, you might want to, instead of going into music, see if you can translate that to architecture, because I don't think anyone knows that. I didn't know that, so I'm sure kids don't know that.
I think from my perspective, when it comes to increasing diversity in architecture, so we start off with that 4%, right, that identify as Black or African American. The only thing I can think of is what other industries have low percentage of Blacks and African Americans? Engineering, tech. But yeah, Ray, that is exactly what I was thinking about, tech. So as you see in tech, they're doing a lot of boot camps. Tiara, like you talked about how you're going to do a STEM boot camp
Yep.
next week. There should be there should be architecture boot camps. We're talking, which I'm sure there are, but I don't think they're being as publicized as much as like the tech boot camps are, because I mean those things are everywhere. So I think if
it might be on an as need basis, we might just need more engineers. Where architects might be good, and that's why the initiative. I don't know. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to insult anyone, but
that's a good question.
We might need more IT people and more engineers and more mathematics people, more people working at NASA. So that's why they're pushing this so hard. And then the building, we might be good. That's what I thought it was, but that might be completely wrong.
Well,
Ray.
No. It's really good. It's funny you should say that, because the program that I work with the business that I own, he's always talking about when it comes to technology, they're referring to when you're building different platforms as an architectural framework.
Yeah.
So they're actually including architecture thoughts and ideas in technology nowadays. So in order to build like an architectural framework, when you're talking about technology, it would benefit you to learn some type of architectural design and architectural. So people who are looking to get into technology may want to learn some at least some architectural ideas.
Yeah.
So that's why boot camps for architecture might work. What were you about to say, Ray?
But the thing is, it's easy. I think, in my personal opinion, it's somewhat easier to introduce kids to the idea of tech because you use it on a daily basis. Architect, and what he's trying to do, you really don't see people trying to go outside and try to build certain things. However, they're building technological things as far as apps or something that they're using on a daily basis. You have, like, what he's doing is beneficial because you can go into the museum and actually build upon architect ideas. Okay. He talked about a program called, he had the Boys and Girls Club come to the museum, and they use an app called Tinkercad, or a software called Tinkercad, where they designed 3D building or something like that. So if you have kids coming to a museum and seeing what it takes to build these things, and not just, you have to now make this app in order to build this. Hey, if you have an idea, you can use these archaeological tools to build buildings. Architecture tools to build buildings. I'm sorry.
No,
you know what I'm saying? You got to use these tools to build buildings, you know?
No.
So if you make it practical, it can be beneficial.
So you guys are saying architecture, not necessarily, you don't need boot camps right now.
That kinetic energy.
Yeah, but you don't need boot camps right now like they have in technology. There needs to be a different way to kind of start that versus like the tech boot camps that they have. For example, like Black Girls Code, right? Who I follow on Twitter. Everybody should follow Black Girls Code. Do you think that there should be a Black girls do architecture?
I wouldn't say,
because the reason why I'm saying that, because I'm actually in favor of that versus using hip hop or using music per se as a way to get kids into architecture. I'm more so into like the whole 2-4 week boot camp.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tia.
I don't think that using hip hop is a bad idea just because it's so inspiring. And I feel like they can use it to inspire these kids to go into hip hop, not just show them, but to inspire them. It's a different thing when you're inspired to do something when you're just shown something, in a boot camp. So I see this approach. I see how it could work. I'm not exactly sure how to exactly translate it. I haven't done my research, but I think
I get exactly. I get what you're saying.
I think they're inspired by the hip hop music.
Yeah, it's kind of like how we talked about. Like
boot camp, you might not be inspired.
Boot camp, yeah, that's true. If we're talking about inspiration, you're right. You're right.
That's my point that I wanted to make on that.
So okay, if we're looking at it from
And one more thing, a boot camp, like she said, a boot camp can be awfully boring compared to me hearing Rich Homie Quan or something like that. Something I can possibly relate to more than just a boot camp. I mean, and then also
they like Rich Homie Quan.
Out of all the artists in hip hop,
I'm just saying.
And I went to a skating rink and they were all doing the dance. Like,
exactly.
Apparently, Ray wants to be there.
No. This is what I'm saying. Like Sierra said, they're doing the dances. What do you see on YouTube nowadays? Kids who are inspired by music and they transform it into a beautiful dance that more than just black kids are doing. You have a whole different race of people doing the Quan or doing the whip or doing the nay-nay. You know? Yeah. And if you can convert that music into architecture.
If you can legitimately do that, you could get people interested.
Yeah.
So you're talking about today's hip hop, not that the old school hip hop, which is
I don't need hip hop to give me a message. Get a dance.
That's a good point, but what elements of that hip hop was he talking about? Because maybe some of it he could still use
definitely
Homie Quan and get the kids inspired.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are just talking about
elements.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are talking about the creative elements of hip hop, because it's pretty creative to create a song and then come up with a dance for it and then like mix the two. I mean, that's pretty creative.
Honestly, well, he does say get down low and swing your arms though, so it's like you gotta know.
Creativity. That's funny. That's funny. Creativity is its own, is its own thing, right? Whether you agree with it, the type of creativity somebody creates or not, like it's its own thing. My point of view though still would have to be, so hip hop, because again, and we kind of talked about this before we hopped on, is who says that hip hop is the favorite music for minorities or women or whatnot? Who says that it may not be alternative rock or EDM or
but it's not. That what you just said is, I mean, we know it's not, Jamie.
How do you know that? Whoa, you're making
majority. I'm gonna say this. This is what I'm gonna say. I can't give you back. Exactly, you can Google it.
You can Google it.
What should I Google?
I mean, I wouldn't. I actually don't agree with that at all. Like, because
you go to the urban cities, what music do you hear?
Oh, urban cities, most likely hip hop.
Okay.
Most likely.
When you go outside of an urban city into a neighborhood of Detroit or a neighborhood of Chicago.
You mean suburbs?
Yeah, that's what I said. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. You go into a suburb. What do you hear?
I don't know.
You hear hip hop.
I mean, that's come on.
You hear hip hop. You cannot deny that hip hop is not the main one of the leading music that young kids listen to nowadays. I mean, you can't say EDM.
It is. Yeah, you can.
How many young kids you hear listen to EDM?
A ton. Think about that influence between EDM.
Give me a top EDM artist right now.
A top EDM. So electronic dance music is an infusion.
I know one.
Well, electronic dance music is an infusion of different. So, for example, like Big Sean has done EDM.
But
with Calvin Harris, like, so you can argue that like Nicki Minaj has done EDM.
But you said amongst black youth.
Yeah, but
you said black. You said solely black.
I said minority. Youth. I said minority. Let's get that straight. Minority.
Okay, you said minority. Okay.
But the only thing I'm saying is that I understand where he's coming from. Where you use hip hop, which is exactly what you guys are thinking, because it's the most likely to get black people, that will touch the most black people and inspire them, as Tiara said, to get them to at least look at architecture and consider going into that field. What I'm saying is that a more practical way may be to start things like Black Girls Do Architecture. So you have a base of individuals who are experts in it that are bringing kids in, 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay, do they not have that already, though?
I mean, I'm sure they do. But what I'm just saying is put a ton more resources. I'm talking like a ton more resources into it than they are right now. Which I'm not saying that they aren't, but I'm saying a ton more resources the likes of like a Black Girls Code has, which I mean, I see them getting fundraising opportunities and like different I forgot what they're called, but different groups of females through their academy, if you will, like all the time, and just so they're doing a really good job. So just getting more people on board, because clearly the 4% we can always increase. So that's all I'm saying is more academies like that. But hey, maybe the solution is to mix both.
Right.
Do more academies.
Rich Quan's architectural camp.
Rich Quan's architectural academy. There it is. We solved it. We saw the solution. There it is.
There you go. There it is.
And also, if you get more of a name base, I mean, a bigger name behind your product, you can push through that too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's like Van Jones, him and Prince's idea of Yes We Can Code, and their whole concept of trying to get.
You said him and Prince?
Yes, the artist Prince. I'm not sure if you heard about it. Him and Prince came up with the idea.
Oh, came up with the idea. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they developed a plan, and it's called Yes We Can Code, I believe. And Van Jones and Prince.
Oh, okay.
And the whole mission was behind getting minorities, young girls.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So if you have a namesake behind the push to get people in the field of architect, it can happen.